Book review: A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose by Eckhart Tolle. Oprah's Book Club, Selection 61. Introduction. Eckhart Tolle's New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose is more than just spiritual guidebook. It's called to transform individual consciousness in order to create better and more peaceful world. Released in 2005 and later championed by Oprah Winfrey as key selection for her influential book club, this title became global phenomenon. Tolle's approach: part spiritual insight, part psychological analysis, part philosophical reflection, seeks to awaken readers to the egoic patterns that shape their lives and offer path toward transcendence and genuine presence. In this review, we will explore the core themes of New Earth, Tolle's central arguments, the structure and style of the book, its reception and criticisms, and ultimately why this book continues to inspire millions in their search for deeper sense of purpose. Plot summary: Eckhart Tolle's New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose, a spiritual guidebook that expands on the principles introduced in his earlier work, The Power of Now. While the previous book focused on cultivating present moment awareness to overcome suffering, New Earth takes more expansive view, addressing the spiritual evolution of humanity itself. Tolle argues that the transformation of individual consciousness is the key to reshaping not only personal life, but the collective destiny of humankind. In this best-selling work, revived as the January 2025 pick for Oprah's Book Club, Tolle invites readers to step beyond egoic identification and awaken to their deeper, truer selves. According to Oprah Winfrey, this is the book that has influenced her more than any other written by a living author, shaping how she understands her connection to the world. The core message: ego versus awakening. At the heart of New Earth is Tolle's compelling message. The primary obstacle to peace, fulfillment, and global harmony is the human ego. The ego is the part of us that identifies with roles, labels, opinions, possessions, and external success. It creates false sense of self rooted in separation, comparison, and fear. When people live from the ego, they experience suffering, and this internal dysfunction spills outward into families, communities, nations, and the world. Tolle asserts that awakening, becoming aware of our identification with the ego and stepping beyond it, is not just spiritual option, but necessity. Without this inner transformation, humanity will remain trapped in cycles of conflict and dissatisfaction. However, if enough individuals wake up to presence, New Earth can emerge, built not on egoic delusion, but on awareness, compassion, and unity. Part I: The Flowering of Human Consciousness. Tolle opens the book by likening spiritual awakening to the flowering of human consciousness. Just as flower blooms after long preparation, humans are now beginning to awaken to their essential nature beyond ego. This awakening is not tied to religion or dogma, but is a natural process of inner evolution. He points to historical figures like the Buddha and Jesus not as founders of religions, but as examples of this awakening. Their teachings revealed that lasting peace and fulfillment lie within us, not in the acquisition of external achievements. Per Roman 2, Ego and its many faces, Tolle offers an in-depth look at the ego and how it manifests in modern life. He explains that the ego thrives on identification with material possessions, appearance, success, family roles, and even suffering. People often unknowingly define themselves by these external factors, seeking validation and superiority through them. Ego also shows up in the mind's constant need to be right. In arguments, relationships, or political ideologies, the ego fuels conflict because it equates being right with survival. The collective ego is responsible for much of the division and violence seen in history and today's world. In this section, Tolle also introduces the pain body, the accumulated emotional pain people carry from past experiences. The pain body is often true in relationships or during moments of stress, creating unconscious reactions that lead to further suffering. Paramathrur, the awakening process. Once we understand how the ego operates, the path to freedom begins. Tolle describes awakening as the ability to observe one's thoughts and emotions without becoming them. This detachment allows people to recognize egoic patterns without judgment or resistance. Central to this process is the practice of presence, being fully here in the now. When people are present, they are no longer dominated by past regrets or fears. In presence, they access deeper intelligence, one that is grounded in peace, creativity, and connection. Tolle emphasizes that presence is not mystical or lofty state, but practical one. Anyone can access it, whether through mindfulness, nature, stillness, or moment of intense focus. As presence grows stronger, ego weakens, and a new way of living becomes possible. From an inner and outer purpose. One of the most insightful ideas in New Earth is the distinction between inner and outer purpose. Outer purpose involves the roles we play in the world, our careers, goals, and responsibilities. Inner purpose, however, is the foundation. To be awake, to live consciously. When people confuse outer purpose with their identity, they fall back into ego. But when outer purpose flows from grounded inner awareness, work and life gain new meaning. Tolle stresses that it's not what you do, but how you do it, with awareness or without. That determines fulfillment. Inner purpose remains the same for all to awaken. Outer purpose will differ for everyone and can shift over time. However, when aligned, they create life of profound meaning and peace. Part V. A New Earth Emerging. The final section of the book imagines what life might look like if critical mass of people embraced awakened consciousness. Tolle doesn't suggest that everyone must become enlightened saints, but that even partial awareness has a ripple effect. Each person who becomes more present contributes to the collective shift toward more peaceful and compassionate society. He envisions world where structures, political, economic, educational, are shaped not by fear and greed, but by wisdom and cooperation. Relationships improve as people stop projecting their pain onto others. The environment is treated with respect rather than exploited. Creativity and service replace competition and ego. Ambition. This new earth is not utopia to be achieved in some distant future, but state of being available right now. For each individual who chooses presence over ego. Tools for awakening. Throughout the book, Tolle offers practical guidance for becoming more conscious. Observe your thoughts. Notice when your mind drifts into judgment, resistance, or fear. Simply recognizing these patterns is transformative. Name the ego. When you catch yourself needing to be right, seeking attention, or feeling superior or inferior, acknowledge that it's the ego at work. Embrace the now. Whether you're washing dishes or facing major life decisions, rooted in the present moment, use setbacks as gateways. Difficulties often shake the ego and open doorway to awakening. Practice stillness. Moments of silence, meditation, or simply being in nature help dissolve mental noise. The core premise. At the heart of New Earth lies the notion that human suffering stems from the egoic mind, our identification with form, labels, and thought patterns that separate us from our essential selves and from others. Tolle argues that humanity is at a pivotal juncture. We can either continue on path of unconsciousness dominated by ego and resulting in violence, environmental destruction, and inner emptiness, or we can awaken to new level of consciousness. Shift that he calls the flowering of New Earth. This awakening is not external or dependent, material achievement, but internal. Transformation of how we see ourselves and relate to the world. The purpose of life, in Tolle's view, is not to achieve in the conventional sense, but to become fully present, to inhabit the now, and to transcend egoic identity. Themes and insights. The ego and the false self. One of the central themes of the book is the identification with the ego, the mental construct that tells us who we are based on our thoughts, emotions, possessions, status, and roles. Tolle explains that the ego thrives on separation. It feeds on the notion of me versus you and us versus them. This egoic consciousness is responsible for much of human conflict, both internal and external. Dissects the subtle ways in which ego manifests, and our need to be right, our defensiveness, our desire for validation, our attachment to things and achievements, and our tendency to judge. He offers the insight that we are not our thoughts, and that by observing the ego without identifying with it, we create space for awareness. The pain body. Another important concept is the pain body, the term Tolle uses to describe the accumulated emotional pain that lives within individuals. This pain is both personal and collective. It can be triggered by external events and feeds on negativity, perpetuating cycles of reactivity, depression, and anxiety. According to Tolle, healing begins by becoming aware of the pain body, witnessing it without judgment, and refusing to fuel. Mental commentary. This idea has resonated with many who struggle with emotional trauma, as it gives language and agency to their suffering. Presence in the now. Tolle returns repeatedly to the theme of presence. The idea that liberation from ego and suffering is found not through analysis or problem solving, but through being fully in the present moment. This theme is carried over from his earlier book, The Power of Now, but in New Earth, it is framed in broader, more societal context. Presence for Tolle is not passive. It is a conscious state of being that allows clarity, creativity, and peace to rise. When we are present, we are no longer reacting from past conditioning or anxiety about the future. We align with what he calls the deeper I am. Awakening in the New Earth. The ultimate goal of the book is to inspire a global shift in consciousness. From egoic to awaken, Tolle envisions a world where people live in alignment with presence, guided by compassion and awareness rather than fear and competition. This New Earth is not utopia built from external change, but transformed reality created through inner evolution. Tolle believes that each individual who awakens contributes to the collective shift. democratizes spirituality. Awakening is not reserved for the enlightened few, but available to all. Structure and style. The book is divided into 10 chapters, each building on the last. The early chapters delve into the mechanics of ego and the dysfunction it causes, while the latter chapters focus more on awakening and living life aligned with presence. Tolle's writing is gentle yet direct, poetic yet grounded. He does not lean heavily on any one religious tradition, but draws inspiration from Christianity, Buddhism, Taoism, and other philosophies. He uses parables, metaphors, and simple questions to guide the reader inward. This style is both strength and point of contention. For some, Tolle's calm tone and spiritual openness are deeply soothing and accessible. For others, especially those looking for empirical evidence or linear argumentation, his abstract prose may seem repetitive or vague. Strengths of the book. Clarity and accessibility. Tolle has gift for translating complex spiritual ideas into language that feels accessible to wide audience. His concepts, ego, pain, body, presence, are not new in spiritual literature, but he presents them in a way that resonates with modern readers. Transformational potential. For many, reading New Earth is turning point. The book doesn't just inform, it invites transformation. By encouraging readers to become aware of their egoic patterns, Tolle offers practical path to peace and fulfillment. Many have reported reduction in anxiety, greater emotional intelligence, and relationships after applying his teachings. Global vision. Tolle's message is not just personal. It is collective. In an age marked by division, climate crisis, and rapid change, New Earth offers hopeful vision that humanity can evolve not through external conquest, but through inner awakening. Criticisms and challenges. Lack of scientific grounding. Critics argue that Tolle's work is not grounded in scientific or psychological research. While many of his ideas align with cognitive behavioral theory, mindfulness, and neuroplasticity, he does not reference studies or data. This makes the book less appealing to those who prefer a more empirical approach. Repetition and ambiguity. Some readers find the book repetitive, with certain concepts revisited numerous times. While repetition may be intentional, designed to reinforce key insights, it can become tiresome. Others find Tolle's style vague or too abstract, particularly when he speaks about collective consciousness or the energy of presence. Overemphasis on inner change. There's also critique that Tolle underplays the importance of structural and societal change. While inner awakening is vital, issues like systemic injustice, inequality, and ecological collapse may also require direct action. Some argue that spiritual transformation should not be substitute for civic engagement. Impact and legacy. Despite its criticisms, New Earth has had profound cultural and spiritual impact. Its selection for Oprah's book club brought it to millions of readers, and the accompanying webcast series with Tolle helped people engage with the material in a more interactive way. The book has influenced individuals, spiritual communities, therapists, life coaches, and even corporate leaders. It fits into the broader movement of mindfulness and conscious living, offering counter-narrative to consumerism and superficial success. Perhaps its most significant legacy is the vocabulary it has given to readers. Terms like the pain, body, ego, and a presence have entered popular consciousness, shaping how people talk about personal growth and emotional healing. Personal reflection. Reading New Earth is less like studying textbook and more like sitting in quiet conversation with a wise friend. The power of the book lies not just in its ideas, but in how it makes readers feel. More spacious, more curious, more aware, it encourages deep reflection without shame and invites readers to witness their own thoughts and patterns with compassion. That said, this book is not quick fix. Its insights require practice, patience, and willing to confront uncomfortable truths. It asks readers to take radical responsibility for their inner state, which can be both empowering and daunting. Conclusion. New Earth is a seminal spiritual text that offers gentle yet powerful guide to awakening. Through its exploration of ego, suffering, and the possibility of presence, it opens paths to individual and collective transformation. While not without its flaws, its strengths lie in its clarity, emotional resonance, and capacity to inspire change. Eckhart Tolle's vision of New Earth, one born not through revolution but through awakening, continues to strike chord in an increasingly anxious and disconnected world. For those seeking deeper purpose, inner peace, and way forward in troubled times, this book remains timeless companion.